Alrighty, so the lot in life. What do you mean by lot in life?
So that phrase to me means that that's what I've been given, that's what I've been handed, that's what I have to deal with. This is my lot in life.
So it's kind of
It's
like
a hand you were dealt.
the hand you were dealt. It's kind of like fate and destiny. It's like you have no choice. No choice. Did I just say that? It feels like you have no choice. So let me have your arm, Scott. So when this person said this to you and it triggered that response, that I'm trying to take what's mine, really is you feel like you have no choice and you have to
I
hand it over.
initially thought that until about a day later when I thought things out. Then I realized they don't have a leg to stand on.
Correct, but that's after you processed it
Right,
by
but
thought.
in
In
that
theory
moment-
only.
You're right. In the moment, I was caught off guard.
But he thought processed it out, but it didn't heal it or resolve it.
No.
And so it crept back up, kicked him in the butt, and it is that you had no choice because they're going to take it because that's my lot in life. Do you get that?
Yes.
Okay, so that is what we need to address you to
You
resolve.
said heal.
Yes! And we still have to figure out why he can't stand the word heal.
I didn't say that. You guys
Go to
say
church and heal that! Is that why? Say, I don't like the word heal.
that. You say I don't like it. I
Jen,
never
what do you
said-
think?
Oh.
Reaction and
Oh.
physiology and
My face gets
whatnot.
all white and I panic.
For instance.
He knows.
That's a for instance.
Go on.
Go on. Indicate that you might have certain feelings about that word.
And when I'm talking as a medicine woman, or Jen is, he goes into taking it personal, and then it's like we shoot BB guns at him. And we're like, okay, we're not, but how does that feel? Ow, 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 ow. He'll say, ouch, quit it,
You'll
ouch,
shoot
quit it.
your eye out. Anyway.
So, he took it personal. And
Yes.
there's a part of you that said, I don't want you showing all my boo-boos to everybody. Which then, you're taking it
I got
personal
boo-boos?
again.
Okay.
Boo-boos. Okay.
No. You have to watch the video.
Yeah, we always see what I just did. Yeah. Okay, but the point is that you have no control over the events. Now, let me have your arm. Say, I have no control over the event.
I have no control over the event.
Now,
Cook-a-bajillion.
yes, and that first time that you felt like you had no control over the event was age 7. Anything younger? No. Now, the signature is that somebody is going to have to come up and be, that signature that says that you have to take away your choices. Say, I have choices.
I have choices.
No, there's a part of you that feels like you don't have choices. Now, this is in this particular realm. If I were
Okay.
to take this aside and change the frequency, say, I have choices.
I have choices.
Yes, because your
And
soul says yes, but
I
we're
choose
in.
chocolate.
Sorry. He chooses chocolate to soothe his.
Chocolate and apples. The mean, yes.
Tell me, Scott, what's chocolate and
Oh,
apples?
did one of YouTube hosts that?
I don't know what is
They
that.
posted like these 10 things to help in heart health, and one of the
Oh.
combinations was
yes,
chocolate and apples. I'm thinking,
Yes.
cool.
The combo, yes.
Oh,
I didn't like the other
his
ones they
attention.
had.
I didn't even know he
I liked
posted
that
that.
one and the one or two after. And the first few I didn't like. They had some weird like anchovies or some weird ass thing like that. But
Healthy stuff, that's weird ass!
Ding, ding, ding. That's us.
Ah!
anyways, but chocolate I can agree with.
Because it creates an opiate in your brain that says, ooh,
Oh, it's
I'm
dark
soothed.
chocolate.
Don't matter. The point is it creates a soothing, ooh, I feel safe and comfortable and it's my choice and nobody can take it. And it's funny because in his world, if you're not eating that, I take it. So he has a choice with his chocolate. But it's a whole other story.
That's a tangent. Chocolate.
Yes. Back to the alignment of I have no choice. Going back to
I have
this.
no choice. Go
For
back
this
to
lot in my life.
that lot in my life. For my lot in life.
I have no choice.
Oh, I think my friend Dave was okay.
Oh, God.
His
And-
last name was Lot.
Right.
I don't know if people would think this
This-
is humorous or not. I'm trying to be educationally
Okay,
serious.
I'm sorry. I will.
But he's
quit
also
making
quite
look-
funny and humorous. And
Right.
so
It's
Jen's
hard,
on the other
it's
side.
hard not to laugh.
I've got 2 gestures, I swear.
Gestures.
I got talking about,
I'll
you
wear
know,
a green and red little pointy hat. You wear a red and green one.
Okay.
so, green and red, red and green. Okay. To me, it's like I said, well, you know what? If we were talking about porn or sex, I'd be the only one with
we
that
don't
straight
talk about
face.
such things like that.
I I'd be the only one that have a straight face, and they would be over there laughing, and I would you even learn anything I would say?
Your ratings
Yes.
are up,
The ratings would go up because you guys wouldn't be anything I'd have to say.
though. Now, let me tell you about, okay.
I like the Scott show.
She's, oh, you got one fan.
You have one fan. There you go.
Thank you. Okay, what were we talking about now before you got all goofy on us?
God, there's the blame game.
No, I'm not blaming, I'm just making things
You tell
up.
me what you think you heard.
I think
She-
that by a lot in life, blah blah blah, your stuff you wrote down.
And how's that going to help you heal? Oh, that's right. Give me your arm. I like the word heal.
I like the word heal.
Now, say when I hear the word heal,
When I hear the word heal,
lung, thyroid, heart, liver, I want to get angry. Oh, he does. I want to get
you won't like me when I'm angry.
irritated, frustrated, aggressive. So the first time you told you need to heal that inside the womb at birth, 1 to 5, 5, 4, 3.
I was actually
3 years
at,
old.
At 48 years old as last year.
So when you were 3 years old and said you need to heal that. So it's you need to. It's connected with you need to. You're not listening. So all right, here's the pattern.
So it's being directed, and that goes
Okay.
back to not having any choices, and that's your life because you need to
Right.
do that.
Yeah. So again, you're not listening. Need to, and that again, it's a direction. And the thing is, they're telling you that you have to do something,
Right.
but yet at the same time, where's my power of choice? So guess what? When my wife says that I have to do it, I get to say no. All right, so were you able to say no at 3? No, but I get to say no now. So actually, this is where you have
it's
a
a part of rebellion.
yes.
Rebellious nature.
You have a conflict within you. One, you had to obey as you got older. You found that you can disobey by, what do you program yourself with? Do you know that that's a tool to how you program yourself? Okay, what he's doing is he's tapping certain fingers,
I was
and without knowing, paying attention to his thought, he's actually tapping in a reinforcement of something. They're called anchors.
I don't know.
We'll have to find out what those anchors are.
That reminds me of the episode that I just watched of How I Met Your Mother.
Do tell.
That's fascinating. It was the Japanese restaurant that all of a sudden that one of the characters kept saying, "Oh, I want to go to that. Let's go to that." And it was because one of the other characters sneezed, and so the sneeze was the program
Cute.
of every time they mentioned the restaurant name. And he would
Yes.
say that the
person
sneeze,
was
and so
sneezing.
then
Oh,
and the
wow.
person was sneezing. Let's go to that restaurant. So that's interesting. It's an anchor.
It is. It is.
So it's funny that I just saw it on a sitcom.
Yes, and so
Okay.
he's all clogged up. Now you were not clogged for a couple times now.
Okay.
And we were working on doing a healing with you the other night, and again I said the word healing, and I marched in there and I said, we're doing this, and I threw all my books down, and he's over there
Yeah, I
being
was
so
surprised.
cutie patootie he was, looking at me going, heh, heh, really?
I was trying to do my Sudoku puzzle.
Sudoku. All I know is that
What
he,
numbers, you know.
yeah, but it triggered something because I ended up using magnetic rollers to release that he hated the word healing. And he got unclogged, and his body is back to being all clogged, instantly clogged. So what does instantly clogged do? He put up a heart wall. And that was some of the things I took down and healed, allowed his body to rest.
Oh.
So now you just created this heart wall? Yes.
I noticed that during the show, by the top of because it's a
Heart
2-hour
wall.
show, and you could say by the end of the first hour, the beginning of the second hour, whichever your choice is, that he's.
So let me have your arm. So this cloggedness has to do with conflict. Conflict with me, conflict with the subject. It's conflict. So his body is agreeing with me, saying, yes, there's conflict. And what did I just say before he really went clogged? I said there was a conflict. Two sides inside of you that says one way and then the other one says no. So you didn't get to say no. It's like when your mom and dad would say, Scott, you would go running. I'd say, Scott, you'd go, I'm busy. And
Oh.
seriously? I'm carrying a baby, I got a basket of clothes, food's burning, and I ask you for help, and
Then
you're
I
like,
say, what's taking you so long?
exactly.
I'm just kidding. I don't remember
No,
doing that.
you
I
would.
really don't remember doing that.
And I'd be going, I'd be upset. and then I would have to figure out how to manage one more thing. Where's my toes? All right, let's take the food and do this and that. And because it was like, seriously, that caused one fight one time, and which caused, was predicted by this woman that I've learned a lesson that even though people will tell you what they see, this is where they take their own negative experiences and then place them on you and create this power of suggestion, which is so astronomical, which causes you to either live up to their standards or not. She had told me that I'm going to have a fight with my husband, it's going to be over with the mother, and that we're going to create a divorce, and I'm going to go live in a shack with my 2 kids, and boy, are you poor. And all I heard God say was a grain of salt. I said, okay, thank you for the grain of salt. Show me what that is. So months later it unfolded. Sure enough, I am carrying, I got a basket of clothes, there was something else happening on, I didn't have enough time, and I'm like, okay, I need help now. I always learned, never ask for help, and that's my program as a kid. So he just lived that signature out of not helping me out.
I recall this.
Just a minute, I'm not blaming, I'm listening.
I know.
Okay, so I'm standing there and I'm going, oh God, Scott! And I think I wanted to get him something off the stove because I was carrying a basket, I was doing something else. And so then he couldn't be bothered to move. But then all of a sudden we hear in the basement, Scott! Boom! He was out of that chair, had opened the basement, went downstairs, and when he come back I'd say, I have to talk to you about something because it's bothering me. Why is it you jump when your mother says it, but when I ask you, you can't even look in my direction? What do you mean? And then he just went into blah, 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 blah. We got in a fight. Okay, a tiff. Whatever, it's not going to get resolved tonight. Now, the next day, as I'm going outside to take the kids to the get on the bus, it was all snowy. Now, I have to back it up. A couple months earlier, I was mad at the school bus because they made us wait 45 minutes in the freezing, and I had 2 kids. And this is before cell phones. And I'm running in and out of the house, and I'm like, okay, my kids are cold. I didn't have a car to drive them to school, otherwise I would have drove them to school. So I'm trying to figure out how to get my kids to stay warm. So I said, Dad, that's it, which is my father-in-law. I'm done. Here's some schematics. Yeah, roughly drawn. I want this built. Just tell me where the tools are because you've got the tools and the equipment and the wood. I know you got it all. Just I will build it. He's like, no, I'll build it. So he had built this really nice
little schoolhouse
and
or
a
whatever.
window and a door with the window so that I could see when the bus comes. Plus we had a car seat in there so we could sit in luxury so that when the bus came we could stay warm best we could. It was still cold, but we didn't have the freezing cold weather. Okay? Now, let's go back to the story. We fought. Next morning I get the kids, I'm walking out there, we sit in our little schoolhouse, and all of a sudden here God says, so how do you like your prediction? I started laughing because we did fight over what the mother had, what his response was to the mother. Even though the lady also told me I was supposed to hate my mother-in-law. No, I adored her and loved her. And that's another thing I realized, what the hell is she talking about? Which mother is she talking about? I love my mother-in-law. And as I'm sitting there in the schoolhouse and as I hear God say, well, how do you like your prediction? I'm looking around and it's the shabbiest shack
is the
inside.
shack you're thinking of.
I'm looking around going, oh my God, here we are, freezing to death, and not freezing to death, but we're freezing, but yeah, we stayed warm to some degree.
Wind, yeah.
And I'm looking around and I started laughing, and my kids, of course, I couldn't tell them what it was because they wouldn't have understood, but it was interesting. And where am I going with this? I don't remember. Where was I going with this?
You were talking about...
That's a good answer.
Being able to say no, that
Yes.
he could say no to you but not to his mom.
Exactly, and
And it's like, okay, you see the little bee with the horses tied to the little plastic chair and wasn't
Yes.
going anywhere? Well, see, that's my training for being bored and always going whenever my mother said something, you know?
give me a kiss. You want to know why? Because that is what we're asking you to resolve. You can break the
Okay.
chains that bind. The elephants,
Well,
the
that was
elephants
broken
died.
because Ma's not here anymore, so...
No, it didn't get broken. You're still fighting. Because
Oh.
they had a fire, and it was the circus, and I can't remember, all the elephants were not even tied, but they had a string to something that they could have just easily busted through. But because they were so trained and conditioned that they could not go past that particular part, they cried and as they died. And we have to break those chains that bind us. They're already broken, but we can't see it because all we see are the chains. And we need to heal that lens, and we need to move forward and move on to the next part. Does this make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Now, we know that It's when you have all of those rules and how they're directed. You have mother issues. Maybe your arm. Say, I have mother issues.
Okay.
It all goes back to the mother.
Now,
Sie Mutter.
now the mother issues is not that she was a bad mom. It
Oh, no,
was,
she
she was an awesome mom. What it is, it's how he took the directions in. It's the energy flow.
My interpretation of the events.
Exactly. And how you felt like you had to obey her blindly. Because there was a respect and a loyalty thing going on. And that was great. The only problem is that you no longer you need it as an adult. Because you felt, as you started to progressively get older, you didn't have the ability to say no, because that was your lot in life. At the time, you didn't need to say no. You just did it because it was respect and love. I grew up with that same energy. You respected your parents. Does it mean that kids don't respect their parents these days? To some degree, but of course we're changing the consciousness. They have to act this way, so we're not obeying blindly, because when we obey blindly to all of that, the powers that be, the hierarchy that we created with the pimp and the prostitute, we literally cannot break free from it. So you have to have these kids that come in and protest. Then you have to have these kids that come in and know that they have the rights, and they will protest stronger. Then you have the ones that are entitled, and those are the ones that are just sitting there. And if you listen to the song that we post, you have, your changes. You're waiting for the world to change. It's because protesting ain't going to help. But you do know that you're just waiting. So you know that you're entitled. You know that you can fight back if you need to. But some of them just sit and wait. Because it's called the changing of the guards, is what I see it as. And when the guards have switched, then all of a sudden a whole new life gets breathed into the situation. We just had a group meeting at some place, which I'm not going to say, and the president died, and then the next person in line stepped up, and it was called the changing of the guards. And I watched how, oh my God, you're just going to close this up, you're going to close that up? No, we have to wait for the time of the flow so that it worked properly. You can rest your arm.
Oh.
And what happened was that then life was breathed into this particular group, which now is coming back alive. Mm-hmm. Okay? It's there. It's happening. But we're in consciousness shift. This whole idea that the end of the world is going to happen on the December 21st, all it means is that the calendar is resetting. All it means is that now we are done with the iron stage, and we're moving into the bronze, and eventually the silver, and then eventually the golden.
Right, it marks a particular end of an era.
Consciousness stages. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And what's happened during those is that the energy speeds up, and if you understand when I talk about planes of existence, we're creating an evolution back to our source, and right now we're at the lowest form, and we were in the dark ages, and now we're coming back up, and we're not going to die or blow up. We're going into the next stage of awareness, which is part of that unity. And as it's unity, the separation is going to be changing, which means this is where Jen and I are now really up to why we have been told to do what we do and learn what we had to learn, was because we're teaching people how to process. We're giving people a new way of breathing life with a new glossary, with a new way of looking at life, and to create a better world. And you'll be able to create better relationships as well as everything else, to allowing yourself to reflect back what you're really putting out there. So your inner world, once you heal the inner world, your outer world is so much better. And we have a lot of proof of that. We're going to take a break.
And we're back.
All right, we're doing really good. And so what we're doing is we're showing you how to unfold a thought with a spiritual investigation. And there is actually a really good book that teaches you how a thought grows and what is a thought. And that is by Dr. Carolyn Leaf. And who switched off my brain?
Yes.
And something like that is the name of the book.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yes.
But it's a really good book. But being in spiritual investigation, maybe what?
I didn't know if you were saying what happened right now. Because sometimes you'll say that, I can't think of anything.
Switch off my brain. I get it.
Right,
Yeah.
and I said, is that the
Just
title?
happened now.
Yes, that's the title. I was
Okay.
confirming for him that was the title.
I thought, she's in trouble now. Her brain
That's
stirred up.
hilarious.
Better get my pull cord out. Pull.
Okay. But I feel that I need to write a book about how to unfold a thought. by spiritual investigation. And unfolding is simply going back to how you created that particular thought. And how it's linked to, and how it needs to play out, and associates with, and going in many different directions. So there's another book I need to put on my list. And we will get there, because apparently I'm going to become a writer, if I'm not already. All right. I will say, on a little side note, I did illustrate cartoons for a book.
Yes.
So that's
My little
cool.
Pinto.
And I still have to write my little part of my life and add it to a friend that's going to be creating her book. So I'm going to have little bits and pieces of me all over the place that says, hey, getting to introduce you to Brenda Bates, Medicine Woman. I think it's cool. I don't like when you give me stone face because I never know what's going on in that. That's your intention. Okay. So, what does Scott need to do? Once you unfold it, what needs to be done? In his words alone, he'll just look at me and go, I have to heal that, don't I? With great disgust. And what I was telling you was that I had gone back to the bedroom and said, honey, as he was working with his Sudoku, we need to do something, like create a resolution. Don't dare say heal. And I threw my books down and I said, let's look at this. And he's like, oh gosh, you know, his cute littleness. And I'm like, okay, come here, come here. Oh, yeah, okay. You have issues in that area?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Those can be healed also.
Yeah,
no
so
issues.
no.
No
He does-
issues whatsoever.
I don't have any issues, so why would I cry about
Okay.
that?
Anyways, too much.
So we released quite a few little things, and one of them is that he had an allergy or an intolerance to the word heal, and that's why he was getting. What, did it just trigger you to have nose issues again?
No, I'm fine.
Yes, it was, because you were clear.
The nose.
Let me have your arm. Let me have your arm. Okay, say, I have an intolerance to the word heal.
I have an intolerance to the word heal.
One, yes. Okay, so what it did was we magnetically cleaned it out, but we didn't create a resolution to the thought process. And let's see, and why did that happen again? It was a particular thought. So he has an intolerance to a thought about healing. So who told you that you needed to go do that? Oh, that's right, we were investigating need to.
It was being
Like,
directed.
need to heal, need to do
yes.
this, you need
At
to,
3
need to do.
years old, he was directed to do something and he
I
didn't
was
want to do it.
commanded.
Oh, commanded. Excuse me. He wasn't directed. He was commanded.
But see, okay, so that's why, see, when you get commanded, it's not a big deal. But when you're demanded, it is hurtful. And you just broke. Okay, now what I want you to understand is that my husband was playfully, lightly touching my pendulum, and he just broke it in half. Now, what I'm going to tell you, energetic-wise, is that when you have
And just saw
energy
me.
that's
Before I put it
building
back.
up, when you have energy that's building up, and you don't mean to break things, what happens is literally you will demonstrate by all of a sudden, all the energy gets,
Hulk smash!
yeah, without knowing it, that's what happened.
You
Okay,
fixed it.
and I
Good.
fixed it. But as like Ramtho talks about how in this particular
He
atom,
went ping.
Yeah, he spun out.
He spun out.
when you
He
have
didn't go
inside
peeing. He went ping.
ping,
Piggy.
inside the atom, you have 7 levels of consciousness all wound up in a very tight space. That's why when you break up an atom or atom smash it, it becomes the atom bomb, because there's so much condensed energy in that particular space. So when we were talking about an issue that he hasn't resolved yet, it all got concentrated. So when he delicately, he just picked it up, all of a sudden it just fell apart. And he's like, what the? Kapoof. And that's just like when I had my ring on. I had a wonderful ring, and it was absorbing all of the negative space, whether it's through me or as I pick up, because I'm an empath. And all I did was put my hand down. I didn't even touch it. It broke into 5 places because I was doing a reading that day
all these months
with the
later,
people in the space. And it wasn't my clue, it was a clue for the people I was working with. And as I was doing the reading, I said, is your husband a jewelry collector? She starts laughing her butt off because she was mad because he's really into jewelry. Has to have all the bling bling. Whereas he can't understand, why won't you wear that? I just bought you a necklace. Why don't you wear that? And the ring had accumulated all of that negative or all of that concentration that needed to be resolved. And my ring went and broke in 5 pieces. 5 represents change. And I'm like, I appreciate you taking that on, but I miss my ring. Because we had matching rings. So when the stone gathers and something bust, it means that then there's a condensed part of energy that needs to be resolved within you. And if you have furniture that busts all the time, you got to remember, you're carrying, it could be just a particular thought that you're not even aware of that has a lot of concentration to it, and literally it will go into a small space, become very condensed, and it can then become destructive like a little atom bomb. And that's why things break. When you go to buy stuff from the store, like a piece of furniture, and it really is great, you bring home yours and it breaks. Why? Sometimes it's not you. Sometimes the builder put their thought accidentally into that space or in that making of it, and it can fall apart. Or the material they were using, let's say they were taking it off the land and there was a buildup of negative thought in that land, and then the wood may not last. So there's all different kinds of reasonings, but usually there's stuff that needs to be cleaned up. He doesn't want to follow blindly, which he said that I was commanded. Now, when you're commanded, it is like what? You're in the army where people command you?
Pretty much.
Because there's a difference between being a command and a demand and a statement. And a statement can be made where you don't say yes, no, or right or wrong. Oh, there's a question, that's right. And you question it. So if you give a question a yes and no, chances are most people are going to say no. A command is a statement that doesn't really mean that you can say yes or no. Usually you think about it and you can follow through. And then a demand is that no, you have no choice. But you had been programmed that you have to follow blindly to a command. And it's coming from a loving space because your parents were loving. But it was this part of respect. You came from a particular era that the consciousness said this is what you're supposed to do when you see a command come your way. Okay? That can be resolved. But when you hear it in this particular consciousness, because we're raising up, and the frequency is changing, that's what we mean by raising up. The frequency is changing to a higher pitch. And then those particular things that served you as a kid no longer serve you now, and you haven't resolved them because there's really no enemy. You see what I mean? It's now becomes a conflict. I'm waiting for him to clog up because when I said that word before, I watched him go, and then when I said heal, okay, just checking. Yeah, that was more of the mouth breathing, but when he gets all cloggy and snotty, I'll know. So, he's trying not to talk or breathe. Do you hear it? Do you hear it?
Yes.
I hear it.
I recognize the mouth breathing over there.
I can tell that you've done it. I just had to say heal, and what was the second word? Conflict.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to write down the word heal and conflict. They can watch the video. They can watch Scott. Nice try. Okay. Which the body. Now again, what do we do? You got this information. You theorized it now spiritually. You can go and let time heal it, correct?
Yeah, this is great information. I'm going to go process. Just think about it for a while.
Okay, so sometimes our brains get overwhelmed and we need that process to process stuff. But what if you just theorize it and then all of a sudden you forgot about, I healed it. That's what normally people do. They're overwhelmed, then they think about it and all of a sudden it's gone. They've healed it. That was an old way of how you did it. But all it did was say you found it, and then you didn't keep your promise, and now it's there.
I made a decision to not let that bother me.
Yes, so now you overcome. Mm-hmm. Okay? And then you're going to give yourself pep talks to get out of it. Listen to you, snotty old boy there. Okay.
I'm breathing just fine.
Yeah, they can't hear that on the radio.
What's... That's hilarious. Okay, I just had a flash as he was doing that. So one of his nicknames is Scotty.
Yes.
But what do you say when somebody is clogged up in the nose?
Snotty. Snotty Scotty.
So
that's not funny.
That's not funny, Scotty.
So I don't know why I had that flash that...
Did people have nicknames for you?
No, not really.
Okay. Yeah, not really. All I can say is that you're chicken and apes, but that's all. We're going to go there for that one.
Okay, I don't know. They just, as you said that...
But it's a flash.
It made a flash in my mind.
So, as you unfold the thought, there's different ways that you can humanistically take care of it, and they have worked, but then they didn't really work. They just worked as a temporary purposes. But then you're back to square one because it's there again, and you get to build back up again from one back up, or take, and if you're already at 1,000, you're just going to add on. Build and add on. Now, what do I want you to do? I want you to process out that moment. If you're going to create a fresh experience and you're going to notice that your thought was, it popped up through association, and now you need to resolve it. What are you going to do? Well, that's where we got the healing tools. In this case, I need to find out what is that he needs to resolve, and we kind of already have this investigation of what he needs to resolve, but it isn't anything particular here. Yes, it is my lot in life. They're pointing to that he feels, on a scale from 0 to 10, this is my lot in life. How much do you believe in that? Scott, please answer.
They can't hear that on the radio.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about that.
All right, and when a person is consciously thinking about that, you say, please give me the arm. And I have a lot in life, and as he's thinking about that, will you give me an answer? And is it over 100,000? Is it over 1 million? Yes, you are taught to believe that's your lot in life, and you have to deal with it.
I am also of the opinion that you can change your lot.
When did you just find that out?
I've always kind of thought that.
But do you have to go through a process of so many years, like 40 years of wandering, and then figure out that you can change your lot?
No, I'd like to think it's quicker than that.
Well, I mean, it's reference to the Bible.
No, I don't
Meaning
think so.
there's a certain period of time that you have to go through before you can change it.
Maybe there is.
In some respects there is, because you have to have the knowledge in order to change it.
So that's interesting to me, because you made a Bible reference. Technically, it's 38 years that they were wandering, because then they sent the spies ahead. And what had to happen is that spiritually the elders of the community needed to die off before they could go into
Change to the guard, see?
before they could, be accepted. That was what was going to happen. That was the next leg of the journey, whatever you want to call it. That those elders needed to die off before it was possible. And that's also a belief system, is that change can't occur until that natural process. And when we talk about, you can change in an instant, a lot of people have a hard time with that.
Yeah.
Because they don't understand, how we're understanding consciousness and reality and the chemistry of the brain. That yes, it can happen just like that.
Mm-hmm.
An old system is that it does need to go through that changing of the guard.
Right, because when my clients come in, I pay attention to their world, and if they can conceive it quickly, instantly, then yeah, then change can happen. But if somebody will say, well, don't tell me it's going to take overnight. I know it's going to take a lot longer to heal. It could take a whole year. And they're telling you, they're telling you their program, and there's nothing wrong with it. You can change that program if you want to, but you also need to respect that if you try to push it beyond that, you're going to blow their perception. You really need not to blow the brain. When I'm doing a healing tool called the drop through, and no, I do not have it on my website, but when you do the drop through and you're having them drop from negative experience, let go, drop to the negative experience, let go, drop to the next one, then you get to a positive. But if you go and you do 2 positives and then you try to go further with that healing, you could blow the circuitry to the point where it can keep you in a loop, or you are stuck and you can't recover, or too overwhelmed. But you have to allow the body to say yes, no, okay, this. But if you try to give it too many commands, then you've watched your computer and it goes, beep, beep, you can't, you have to reboot, yes? Okay, well, it can be that simple about how you conceive. There is a process that you're willing to accept that change can happen. That's why me and her, before you came on board, you would see me and I would tell you, I'm on the bullet train. Don't expect to be on this bullet train unless you can handle how fast the conception is happening. What's your turnover rate? What's the conceiving? And people are saying, you changed too fast. No, to me, it's slow-mo if I go to the pace you're going. I've already been there. I don't need to go back. I'm at this space. It's not that I'm any better. It's just that this was where my process of how I conceive and how I process. I'm right here. You can join me. I can help you, bring you to the bullet train. I can have you go to that next step. But at the same time, it's like I tell people, when you have electrical currents and you're taking your current and I'm shaking your hand and your current, there's not going to be a blow. It's going to be, okay, we're linking up, we're connecting. But if I were to take my hand in the socket or electrical outlet or a live wire, what's going to happen to me?
You get zapped.
I'm going to get zapped, I'm going to be blown, I can even die from it because it's too much current coming in. I was taken and helping my friend. She currently was one of my teachers. And the information that came in was so overloading to her that it blew her human circuitry, meaning her filters weren't enough to be able to take it in, and so it blew some of her circuitry, meaning her physical nervous system, the way that her brain wants to conceive it. Now, it didn't stop her from intelligently being, it just slowed her down to the point where it had marked when it tried to come in. So the misalignment of when you're connecting up to that frequency can cause a problem. Okay, so you learn to go at the pace that you're at, use healing tools, and I had worked my way up to the bullet train and I had no idea. Until I started to being around people that say, you're too fast. I'll look at them, well, you have to understand that they speak fast, but they're not talking to you consciously because they don't want to talk to you consciously. Why not, Jen?
Because...
Oh, we'll find that out after a break.
That's a great thought.
The question on hand was, why not, why don't I should say, the spirit guides like to talk to your conscious mind?
Because the conscious...
Gets in the way! Go ahead.
Exactly. I was just going to say, can only
Interrupts
conceive
you, yeah.
so much. Yeah, starts interrupting. Yeah, and then that's what happens. And then that's what happens. And then it's a disruption, and you want to start arguing. But wait, but that's not possible. But I don't understand. And then why are you saying that to me? But then, and then,
Scott will end up going in a tangent, and then spirits are going, can you pause him? I can't pause my husband because he's trying to do his best to get along and talk and communicate. But when they're going on a roll, and he gets into his conscious state about, he goes into a tangent, all of a sudden they're like, please pause him, and I'm thinking, I can't!
No pause button.
And then as soon as he's done, they put me on pause, and as soon as he's done, then they start me right back up again. I don't know if you've ever noticed that, because they playfully are waiting, because they haven't finished a thought, to go to the next direction. And it's like, I want to speak, but I have to pause. But anyways, you don't want to talk to the conscious mind because all healing and changes and behavior takes place on the unconscious level. And if you're going to give as much information as how Spirit just starts putting out that information, your subconscious mind is the one that's picking it up and recording it anyway, and your conscious mind only will interfere and object and go into the filters of delete, store, generalize, and I have to go into the meta programs, I have to go to my values, I have to go to my beliefs, I gotta
figure out what you're saying so then I can make it make sense to me, and then maybe I might argue with it, I might agree with it, I might disagree with it, I don't know, I have to decide how I'm going to interpret what you're saying, and they're just talking directly to your subconscious where you're going to be recording it anyway.
Exactly. Hello, Octarine. So glad you're here with us.
Yay!
So again, when we've already looked at how to unfold a thought and to spiritually investigate it, now we're looking at, where did it come from? What part am I talking to? And we really need to decide how to heal it. Now my crown on top of my head is like all this energy is coming through all at once, and I feel like I'm connected up with Karen. Woohoo! And so usually when you get more and more people gathered together on a spiritual level, it really raises that frequency, and you really get to feel more. And I just feel like her coming in the room, and it just opened up more. So all of us, Kimberly and all those people that are with us, we're really at a very high frequency right now. I don't know, Octarine, you may have some good news, but I feel like she's all happy. Something, whether somewhere along the way. Okay, stop talking that way. Let's go in a little bit further. To resolve it, there are so many beautiful, wonderful healing tools. But when you are doing this, and a simple thing is going from happy, happy, happy to, a thought connects to this, associates with that, and it puts you in a bad mood. Now, we talked about if it's a very frequency, where you have one every minute you bring up that thought, or if you're in a minute you do more than one thought, that is your soul giving you a whisper to a bee sting to the proverbial brick wall, is when you become completely stressed. Your soul is telling you that you're losing power and need to resolve this. Now, there's all different forms of healing tools. But the main thing is please do not just theorize it and just say, okay, I'll figure it out later. Okay, or you figured it out, but you haven't got any tools to address it. You still are not taking it out to completion, because then you'll come back a month or two later, and then that triggers again, and the one, where you had it at, where you thought was 0, it builds at 1, 2, 3, 4, builds it back up, or it adds to, like I said, we've already had 1,000. Now it's going to go higher. So if it is doing that, you can do all kinds of healing. We got different healing tools on our sites. The main one is what I'm asking them is, what can you do? Well, it's whatever you are aligned with in the moment. we have picking yourself off the floor, and that usually is when you feel the energy has been placed upon you, or has knocked it out of you. They knocked your own energy out of you, or they've taken it out of you. So then you would do the picking it up off the floor. I'm not going to go into detail, but it's a really quick healing tool. If your thoughts are more scrambled, you can do the Wayne Cook, as well as place your hand on your forehead and do the Oh My God points. So there's 2 healing tools there. If you feel you can't think, sometimes you feel out of sorts, you may want to do what you call cross crawl. There's all kinds of healing tools. But the main thing is to say and remind yourself, I need to create a disruption, and then I need to release it down to 0. Creating a way to resolution so that your mental state is what? Clearer. Like I said when we started the show, the reason why people are saying, why did this happen? Why did this nasty thing happen where kids are being killed? And I already explained what the process of the kids and the soul does, but it's the emotions. It is all of the, because you can't have reality, the illusion, come to life without an emotion. Whether it's an exciting emotion, a negative emotion, or a very quiet, numbing emotion. Emotions is the driving force of what creates the reality into an existence. And how do you get what the hell is out of existence? By resolving out the emotions, so the chemical peptides, so you don't have to keep recreating every single day the reality. Healing tools. Now, we're going to just address Scott. Scott, we know that you have to look the fact there's an old program where you had to blindly follow. So let me just see at another level. Let me rearm.
Okay.
So say I have to blindly follow.
I have to blindly follow.
Okay, now he's how old are you?
49.
He's 40. Look how
Or
close he is.
29.
He's 29 and letter Z. Okay, so 29Z. I don't know what a letter of the alphabet is, but the point is he's getting closer
49.
to it. Why? Okay, 49 years old. Say, I consciously right now have to blindly follow. No, his soul don't believe that. But there is the program that interferes his 49-year-old self. Yes, and this program interferes when he's trying to be himself and overcome. I don't have to blindly follow. It happens to be what he believes at 49. Yes, so he has a conflict. I have to blindly follow, which came at age 7. And at 49 says, I don't have to blindly follow. And when you decided I don't have to, and you value the fact that you don't have to, and it's a value, started at 20 to 20, or 20 to 30, 30 to 40, 38, 37, 38. How did you know it was exactly 38? When you said you don't have to blindly follow. Unconsciously, you intuitively gave me that number, and it's exactly what your soul said.
Okay.
So at 38, you protested. You didn't have to protest. You took stand. A protest is when you're fighting, and when your take stand is when you're done. Enough's enough. I'm not going to do that ever again. And you don't have to protest. You just don't engage. Okay? You don't really have to fight anymore either. You just don't do it. So you have a conflict between your 38-year-old and your 7-year-old self. One says I have to, the other one says you don't have to. And you both are correct, but you're creating an interference. If we just healed the 7-year-old where you say I have to blindly follow, then you still have the fuel of I don't have to. That still has a negative spin, and what it does, it can then start bringing in proof and bringing in more things that causes you to have proof and have to do this, and it still doesn't resolve. So you just healed the 38-year-old that says I don't have to, then you're going to be more open to that you have to. So creating a resolution is both sides agreeing, and I haven't gotten those healing tools up, but that's usually where the hope therapy helps relax it, because you hit, when you're doing hope therapy, you start off usually in the conscious thought, and then it propels you back to time, to what your time is now, and back and forth to different areas, going to different emotions, until it settles it down. Did you have something to say? Okay. And going back to, now that we know this a little bit more. Now, did we need all the detail? Probably not, but again, it's important that we can get to where we need to go. What does he need to do? If he were to heal it on a hope therapy level, to heal this conflict, lung, thyroid, heart, liver, gallbladder. And that is where, now think about this, the gallbladder is a huge meridian that has to do with spinning out, resentment, the goal they had, stubborn, emotionally repressed, depressed, indecision, intolerance, or bitterness. Where are you on that stage? Well, we can find out. Let me have it. So, and if you want, this conflict leads to the gallbladder. Emotionally repressed. Emotionally repressed because you overcame it. Emotionally repressed means that I overcome it by not paying attention to it. So I've had enough. I don't have to do it. And when it comes up, I just walk away. But what you're doing is that even though consciously you feel better, what happened to the emotion? It's repressed. So those chemical peptides are still trying to live itself out. Then it can then start affecting his gallbladder. The gallbladder meridian can actually cause him to be snotty. So the gallbladder meridian, is that causing you to have congestion? Yeah, right now it is.
Did you ever say that he had a snotty attitude?
Did you ever say, yeah,
No,
anybody?
I never had that.
No, see, you never thought you ever could. See, you weren't allowed to have a snotty attitude. Don't
I was
backtalk
more
me.
comical than anything, I guess.
Yes, now because you watched your brother and that go through. What
I
did you,
was just looking at all the connotations of snotty, snotty attitude, nickname, that kind of thing. If that was any
what did you
part of the situation.
say to your son one time? Don't give me that nasty attitude, that backtalk, that, and there was a word for it.
Oh.
Back in the old days, they would say this. And I heard you say it, and I thought, oh, that's a really old.
Back talk, lip, I don't know.
Yeah, there was another one, and you actually came up, and it was a very old word.
Old archaic or
Yeah.
no longer used. I don't recall.
Oh, God.
We'll just have to
And maybe
listen
careful
for it
somebody-
if we'll
yeah.
pay attention.
And so we thank you,
Yeah.
Spirit, for bringing it up. And so if this is it, so be it, which means we can be done with this, and then you got a promise to heal. In this case, you know
with
that, let me have your arm, you know that your dad wouldn't tolerate any of your back talk, okay? He
Oh,
would,
definitely not.
okay, just hear the intensity in his voice?
Uh,
And that is
So
where.
I wonder if any of the
cause more of the brain
repression, so the repression would cause the snot
Yes,
buildup?
yes, that's what we said about the resentment. But the point is that he already knew
So you
his
couldn't.
dad.
So you couldn't be snotty. So you were snotty.
Your body
Do you know
had
what? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
just like I
Yes.
said, well, I think boobs all day. I'm not a boob, but you can be.
Okay.
You are a boob. So you're snotty.
Okay.
I'm one with.
But you were
boobness.
not allowed. You were not allowed to be snotty towards your father. So your body had to actually show it. That's why you have, when you listen to how the body speaks, you'd be totally surprised how much it resembles with
Yes.
some of the connotations that we say. The thing is that you cannot. You already knew that there was no way of giving back talk to your father. That was a given inside the womb at birth, 1 to 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You already knew it. It was already emanating off him that you knew it, and you probably watched how the brother got hurt by you knew it. Okay.
Okay.
Now you knew how to behave at a very young age.
Yes.
Fall in line.
Fall in line. There's another word we gotta find. Now.
I can't remember it.
All I can tell you is that you now outgrew that at 38, according to this. Best way we're going to heal it, hope therapy. No, I don't want to do that. Tapping? No, I don't want to do that.
Magnet out.
Magnet out? No.
Oh.
Which is the easy one.
I
Yes.
tried, people. I tried.
Is this inherited? No.
Sleeping out?
Behavior. Got it.
Oh.
This is too hard to explain, but I'm going to do my best in a matter of the few minutes we do have remaining. Behaviors. Jen, I told you to quit wallowing. Why was I telling you? You go, what are you talking about? I'm not wallowing. But you relish in how you wallowed. And after how long we went by, you're like, oh shit, I'm wallowing. You were able to start seeing it, which means you couldn't consciously see it.
Right.
But every time it came up, that fed you. It made you feel good. It gave you power.
Thriving on that negativity that I didn't even know that was present, but was completely there and totally part of my makeup.
Yes, and it wasn't that it was a bad thing. It just was.
It was the way that I coped through that life and lifestyle and situation, and I'm not blaming anybody. I'm
No.
saying that's what I somehow
tool.
that's what I chose
Just
to do. I
drive.
didn't have anything. I got nothing, and so that's what I did.
And so that was a behavior that she has to come conscious of and say, stop, I don't need it. The other night, my husband, he took something wrong, and then all of a sudden I realized it looked like I was doing something bad. My way of coping to what was going on in the household when I was younger was to go into a sorrow. Just wishing that I could just die and leave the space. I didn't need to be there. But my sorrow, the sadness, the grief, and I couldn't put a smile on my face. I couldn't make a chemical peptide to make me laugh for the life of me. And I heard it. This is your behavior. You need, there's no hook now because I've healed it out. But the behavior pattern still plays itself out when it creates an association, a trigger.
Which is, and I think I made an analogy to smoking cigarettes, where, yeah, you're using the patch, the nicotine patch, to help help in the process of quitting the habit. So then you have to do a new behavior of, oh my gosh, when I drink coffee in the morning, there's the morning cigarette,
the hand motion,
and it's the ritual that would go with it, and the behavior became a ritual, and so then you have to figure out how you're going to modify that, because that's your association, and that's also part of the
Good
feeding.
analogy. But we have to end this. We'll talk more about that hopefully sometime when I remember it. And all I can say is that we're just about done. Enjoy the next show that's coming up. We
And
want to
thank
say
you
thank
for
you.
listening.
Yes, thank you, everybody.
All right, and we'll see you later next time.
Good night.
Bye.